for Sapphire. She will know very soon. For now, we will intro and let the music ride. Bugs up. Shout out Tilly Dan. We love Tilly Dan.
Yeah, they know I'm the one that set the trends, dog. Tell them tenfold, I'm gonna change the tempo, okay? Tell them I can't play it safe, got more wins on the way. Gotta show them how to do it, man, my team making plays, okay? Your team better play on, sleeping on me, wake up. Too easy just to lay off, okay? Tell me who you know can do it better. I know, they know, we know I'm a trendsetter. Hey, okay, I know I'm here to stay. This counting on my wins, so I can't play it. Players trying to go against us, get you out the way. It's the only way to play. When you say I'm a trendsetter, I'm a go-getter. I'm a trendsetter. I'm a go-getter.
All right, we're live. Let's do this. We got people watching. We gotta keep it somewhat professional.
They're watching us. I'm supposed to be serious. I'm supposed to be a serious reporter. Look at that. I'm supposed to be a serious reporter.
Lovely intro. Okay. Lovely. Well, welcome everybody once again to another edition of the Fear the North podcast. Sapphire, thank you for the lovely, beautiful mugs. We appreciate you. Love you very much. One of these days, when we get an even bigger fan base, we'll create thousands of these, for the supporters. Salute.
Absolutely. Salute to you too.
We gotta get a Fear the North fedora. That's what that.
We do.
That would be awesome.
Fear the North fedora.
I love
that sound like hotcakes.
I do. Thank you. And thank you, Chris, not only for blessing us with your presence, but also for the lovely Steely classic album, lovely T-shirt. Definitely feeling the Deacon Blues, over here covering the Browns, but we'll get to that later on.
We gotta say they call Alabama the Crimson Tide. Call us the Cleveland Browns.
Jones and or sports. Shout out, appreciate you supporting everything. Definitely fun. Three fire emojis, and that's I would like to thank for all three of us. Salute, thank you. Thank you all for joining us. I know that isn't the usual word by word, detail by detail intro as usual, but that's the great thing about the show. Nothing is as scripted as these other pods. I promise you're not gonna get what you get here. Promise you that. Between us three. But yes, I'm joined by Sapphire. I'm joined by the lovely, established, author, journalist, Chris Murray. And, we're just here to dive some more into the Fear the North division. They should create a Fear the North division, but specifically the AFC North division in the NFL. Usually a division in which we feel we could say is the best. Right now, that hasn't lived up to that promise this season, but we're still here to talk about it because there's nothing but great gridiron football in cold weather, especially now, going into mid-December. We're ready. So let's dive into it, man. I think there's a lot to dive into. For starters, let me just say the Ravens were off this week, so we will get to them in their Week 15 matchup later on towards the end of the show. But it's time to start with, once again, another one of those games in which two divisional foes are going at it. And none other than the Cleveland Browns traveling to play the Pittsburgh Steelers. Now, it was not quite the game in which lightning would strike twice for the Browns. They lost 27-14. Pittsburgh defended their home field and were victorious. And they denied Cleveland's opportunity at a season sweep of Pittsburgh for the first time since 1988. They denied that. So now that will have to wait for another time to happen again. Opening thoughts on the game from, and we'll start within the victory side with Pittsburgh. Thoughts on them being able to show, hey, we're still, this serious team. Sapphire, you've had them as a sleeper. You've said that since the beginning of the season. Opening thoughts within them coming out and defending their home turf the way they did.
I mean, admittedly, the game started slow, like on both sides, right? And for me, when I watched the Steelers, I never thought they were going to lose the game, number one. I mean, we know they have too many weapons, and they're a fine-tuned machine, okay? But my biggest takeaway was, especially in that second half, what I thought was kind of a newer type of offense that they were running, like kind of they started with a baseline, for the majority of the year, but they started to show some different looks. I thought I saw, a couple tight ends, couple wide receivers in at the same time with the back, right? And I thought that really created some interesting options for Russell Wilson as the game played into the second half. And I wonder, and I'm not even, with all due respect to my Cleveland Browns, they're a non-factor, right? I'm not even. I'm going to leave it to you, Irie, to say whatever you want to say about the Cleveland Browns, okay? But for me, I thought I saw a Steelers team that was planting seeds, playing a little head games, if you will, for their next four competitors.
I like it. Chris, thoughts within Pittsburgh and the way that they came out and defended their own turf.
Well, I think after that loss in Cleveland, they were smarting. They had to get back to, their usual dominance. It doesn't help that Jameis Winston and the guys made their share of mistakes as usual. I just think at the end of the day, Pittsburgh is the team to beat in that division, and that offense is ever evolving. That offense is evolving in a sense that Russell Wilson is starting to find rhythm with the guy, even with Pickens out and everything. They're starting to find a rhythm with his guys, Firemuth and a whole bunch of those other guys they have. The running game is going to go well. So the thing is that they are at that point where you get better in the season as you develop chemistry and things of that nature. And they will probably be a difficult out. They'll be difficult out in this situation coming into the playoffs. But I mean, we still have to see what Baltimore is going to look like and everything. And I kept my antacids on the shelf this weekend because the Ravens weren't playing, and and I'm just at that point where I see, the Steelers are they're gradually evolving their identity. And if Russell Wilson is showing he still got it, he can still buy time, he can still find guys open, he still has it, and given the right situation, he is going to do well. And it's going to be interesting to see him in Philadelphia. And this weekend, I'll be ready to go. I won't be a game time decision. I'll be there, but the thing is, it's
Woo!
going to be a
Sorry.
good game because Philly, and we probably had to deal with that, man. Philly is maddening right now, and so the drama. I'm ready for the drama this week for the battle for the state of Pennsylvania and whatnot. So, we're going to see that drama unfold. But I put it to you this way: the Eagles can't take Pittsburgh lightly. I'll tell you that much. And I'm going to say that Pittsburgh is really finding as much as I hate to say it as a fan and everything, much as I hate to say it, but Pittsburgh is finding their rhythm with Russell Wilson, and if you want to have like a curveball in there, you excuse me, you have my man. You have the backup quarterback, and you really you really have a good you have two quarterbacks who are mobile quarterbacks who can run the football and everything. So you get guys, you have that situation, and they're kind of like Baltimore in that regard. Um, they got quarterbacks who are mobile and can make plays. So
It's fascinating you say that, Chris, because does Baltimore have a tight end that can rush, really
uh,
rush?
that can run. You got Isaiah Likely can play. Isaiah Likely is good enough for this team, and like I say, between Isaiah likely can run the football and whatnot, but then again, in the tush push situation, instead of the quarterback, you have Mark Andrews, Baltimore. But you got guys now. Baltimore's going to come with it, when they get back out from their bye week. But I'm just looking at Pittsburgh right now. You gotta be impressed by them. You gotta be. You mean if you understand, if you're an objective observer, you gotta be impressed by Pittsburgh. You really do. And coaching and I don't want to hear anybody in the National Football League ever say that Mike Tomlin is not a good coach, especially people in Pittsburgh. There are a lot of teams, there are a lot of people who wish they had someone as good as Mike Tomlin. There are a lot of people in the league that wish they had. So Pittsburgh fans, who complain about, they're not putting enough points on the board. It'll come.
Right.
It-
Well, I agree within that, and I think that that's such a such a good bite to intertwine and start with, at least from my side and my perspective on it. And I'll start within this soundbite that I got from Alex Highsmith after the game, because it was something that not only he said, but Jalen Warren said, and a lot of guys were saying, ahead of playing the Browns.
Yeah, I mean, I think the main thing for us just throughout the week wasn't necessarily a get back week, but just a get right week, because we knew that there was things in that first game that we could have done better. A lot of things we could have done better. So this whole week was just really focusing on us, not necessarily on them and what they do, but
I'll play it one more time.
film and everything, but just fixing what we had to do and stuff. Yeah, I mean, I think the main thing for us just throughout the week wasn't necessarily a get back week, but just a get right week, because we.
It wasn't a get back week. It was a get right week. That alone tells you so much within the mentality of this culture. Anybody else, especially within this division, I feel if it was the other way around, it was okay. We got to get back at them. We got to get our revenge. Taste blood. Get it back in blood. Pittsburgh wasn't worried about that. They heard the outside noise. They heard everything from the outside after that Thursday night loss into Cleveland. The snow. They made their feelings known, of course. They bounce back. They beat Cincinnati in week 13. Over 520 yards of offense to be exact. They good bounce back win for them. And that was the funny part within the schedule at the beginning of the season, because regardless of what was happening, just the fact that this rivalry is filled with so much regarding hate and envy, you knew seeing them play each other twice in 3 weeks was definitely going to provide you something entertaining. And it definitely did this season. To see Cleveland win that first time, get their third win of the season, and you're thinking, are they going to do it again? Are they going to go into Pittsburgh and win? Pittsburgh, what do you have to think about it? We saw even enough regarding George Pickens and his comments and statements through interviews regarding Greg Newsom saying he doesn't know who he is. But you omit him. There were a number of guys throughout that week. You can go find it on X, on socials, in which everybody was saying regarding any kind of emotional tangibles regarding this game and wanting to get back at their rival. It wasn't a get back week. It wasn't about getting back at the Browns. It was about getting right. It was about focusing on their tangibles and their intricacies and their goals within the season, which you ask me is to bring the Lombardi Trophy, back to Acrisure Stadium. And that alone is what makes this team so dangerous. And it showed, and it felt that way to the locker room. It wasn't even a sense of, yeah, we got it, we shut them up. It was all right, we got that one on to Philadelphia. So I just had to play. I just really, and of course there'll be more later on to play. But yes, the Steelers game. I mean, the defense alone, man, they set the tone. That first play from Cleveland's offense, the first play of their series when T.J. Watt came in out of nowhere, swooshed in right by Jack Conklin for the tackle on Nick Chubb. Chubb had just he had just felt the pigskin and suddenly was tackled for a loss of 5. Then they pressure Winston for the incomplete pass, and then Highsmith comes in, sacks Winston. The play afterwards for a loss of 7. That alone set the tone, I feel, defensively, and it really showed in which they kept Cleveland scoreless in 2 quarters that game. And then, of course, Pittsburgh's offense took a while to get going. If you guys could hear through the TVs, there were some boos, from the other home fields of Acrisure Stadium. But it seemed after that defensive pass interference from Greg Newsom in the second period, that alone helped Pittsburgh give their offense life. They took advantage of that, 3 plays later with that run in for Najee Harris, and they went on to score the remaining 17 points within 3 of the next 4 series. You guys remember 4 of their first 5 series ended in punts. All they had was the field goal from Chris Boswell to show. That penalty, they took advantage, and something like that, they feel re-energized and able to get things going within the run game, creating opportunities within the receiving corps as well too. So that's my 2 cents, at least for the moment. But that's the other part too. I wanted to ask, like, what was you guys' thoughts within Pickens being inactive and not playing due to a hamstring injury, and the way those other guys came in and really fill that void from Pat Freiermuth to Scotty Miller to Mike Williams, even Jalen Warren, who had a team high five targets.
Yeah. But it says something about and Sapphire, I want you to pull your input on this as well. That's coaching. I mean, that they were able to compartmentalize this whole thing. That's coaching. That's Mike Tomlin. That's coaching. And they didn't turn it into a big time revenge game. Things kind of came together. Guys stepped up when they needed to step up. And at the end of the day, but that's the kind of culture. And Sapphire, you've talked about this all year, that this is the kind of culture that you set up with this team. And even if it was like a revenge game, they didn't turn it into, we got to get all, fired up. They were professional and they knew what they had to do to win the game and maintain a lead. And I think they've grown that lead in by winning since Baltimore was inactive to a bigger thing. Baltimore has a higher hill to climb now in the situation. But I just think that Pittsburgh, Mike Tomlin, that's just his professional. That's professionalism, and that's why Mike Tomlin is a good coach. And I don't care what fans in Pittsburgh say, that man can coach. You don't last as long in the league between him and John Harbaugh and some other guys around. You don't last that long, Andy Reid, for not being a good coach.
It's so fascinating you say that because, you know, I often think about my brother. In case I need to remind the both of you, when my brother and I were very young, I was the Browns fan and he was the Steelers fans. And just to give you an
Oh my!
idea of how much this rivalry defines true Browns and Steelers fans, we got into physical fights over this game. Physical fights. I mean, it is that real in the AFC North, right? And so for me, it's hard to pretty much see the Steelers week in and week out, right? Stay true to their culture, their identity, who they are. And yes, I think Mike Tomlin should be the coach of the year. All people do is hate on the man, right?
Mm-hmm.
Um, Going back to George Pickens, it was the proper decision for him to sit Pickens out. It had nothing to do with whatever's going on or people think is going on with the banter. He has a hamstring injury. And we know if you even go back to that Tampa Bay game earlier in the year where they trotted Mike Evans out there, they said he had, it was early in the year, I can't remember who they were playing, but they said before the ball was even kicked off that he had a hamstring injury. And I don't know if it was you, Irie, or Chris. I'm like, why are they even playing him
Mm-hmm.
this early in the season? With the rest of the season on the line. And you see what happened in that game. He
Yeah,
re-injured it,
Baltimore
re-aggravated, he
Tampa
was
Bay
out
Monday
for a
night
week,
game.
right?
Right.
So Mike Tomlin, being the coach that he is, knew that. And he, like he said, he doesn't want a manageable issue right now to become bigger than what it is, because he has his eyes on the prize. So going back to your question about, Pickens, absolutely it was the right thing. Just like he's questionable for Sunday against the Eagles, which for me makes this matchup even more curious because do most people know the Steelers actually have other above average wide receivers on that squad that can fill those voids, that's a Mike Tomlin.
I think that's the crazy part as well. And thank you 100% with everything you said. Because then you look at a guy like Mike Williams, who caught three of his four targets for 36 yards, terrific catches. I mean, even the 122 yard in which he was nearly pretty much falling out of bounds and pretty much did like a 360 degree spin mid it in air while also catching it would seem to be one handed. And Tomlin actually touched on that too. Uh, After the game. I know I don't have the sound bite, but I do have it right here regarding the quote stuff. He has said that you guys were asking us about our lack of a number two in team development. The guys who
Mhm.
make plays, the guys make plays where we throw the ball to make plays. The strength of the pack
That's
is
right.
the pack. We got a bunch of guys that want to be the reasons why we're successful. We believe in our group. I know I've said that to you guys repeatedly. Maybe you'll start believing me. So
Wow.
Tomlin knows. He knows, and it's just another element as to why he deserves his first AP Coach of the Year this season. His continuous belief in continuous knowingness and making sure that his guys are prepared for when their time comes,
Yep.
opportunity arrives, so that if anything happens, you stay ready so that you don't have to get ready. Mike Williams, like I said, 4 targets, right? Those were his first targets since week 10 versus Washington. He had played with the Jets earlier this season, got traded to Pittsburgh, had not received a target since week 10, hadn't been targeted once. Pickens is out. He finds out what getting stretched on the table from his wide receivers coach. He says, hey, it seems you're going to get a little bit more extra targets today with GP's out. I was like, okay, bet. Pat, like I mentioned earlier, he received a text from his father ahead of game time. So even within the sense of that, because of the willingness and the readiness of this coach and Mike Tomlin being a great coach he is, and making sure the guys are ready week by week for when their opportunity comes and arrives, they delivered the way they did. Even even aside from the slow start and stuff, when things got going, they got going. There was no stopping this team afterwards. It would take them no more than 5 plays to touch from wherever they start their series into the end zone. From Van Jefferson to Pat to even Harris going end zone. I mean, it's amazing to watch the team and see that there are numerous ways in which they are able to win. They don't have to be this dynamic offense. They don't have to look pretty or put a bow on it. All they care about is getting the ball in the end zone, however that may be. And that's why they continue to excel. And that's why we continue to talk about them in the fashion the way we are now.
It's you know what? You're spot on, man. It's balance. Chris, you talked about this all season. It's
Mhm.
balance. And when again, I hate to sound like a Mike Tomlin cheerleader,
Do
but
it.
it's
Do it.
not only just that the players understand he is the trend setter, right? He is the one that says, if you put this uniform on, then you have to execute. And it seems like he knows each of his players' capabilities, right? I mean, it's that's a lot of investment in time, right? That
Right.
you can't look at analytics, Irie. You can't look at analytics and make decisions alone and make those decisions. You have to know your players, right?
Mhm.
You have to put them in the right situations. So, I mean, for me, we can't gloss over that. And I think for a number of reasons that we talked about and more, this game for the Steelers next week at the link, Chris, talk to me. Because you know
Well,
what's
I'm
going on.
I'm gonna
You know what's
say
going on
this.
in South Philly.
I'm gonna say this. The Philadelphia Eagles won their game against the Carolina Panthers. And I have never seen this is the difference between Mike Tomlin's guys. There's no egos. And then when I'm seeing in Philly, I mean, first of all, the fans, I mean, there are more than a few fans who roasted Jalen Hurts for missing a couple of pass plays where they could have had A.J. Brown or Devontae Smith open. But the maddening part about that when the game was on the line, it was Hurts who put them in a position to win, and they did it through a touchdown pass. But people complained about his 108 yards. You had A.J. Brown in the locker room complaining about not getting enough touches. Same thing with Devontae Smith. You don't see that with Pittsburgh. And then too, when I look at Philly fans, and don't get it twisted, I cover the team. I respect their fans, but I mean, it was like a huge debate over the weekend. I had one of my friends, a longtime colleague and friend, was saying that, oh, but Jalen Hurts has to do this and this, that, and the other, and they're expecting perfection and whatnot, but they're winning with Saquon Barkley. They don't. I mean, you got a lot of weapons, but Saquon Barkley has been dominating the game, and Jalen Hurts himself and whatnot has counted for 25 touchdown passes. I mean, 25 total touchdowns. I'm sorry, not passes, total touchdowns, and one turnover in that entire 9-game win streak. And yet, people will find stuff to complain about in Philly. They'll find stuff. Pittsburgh, on the other hand, they know who they are, and they have a situation where everybody gonna eat. And you talk about balance, and like I said, when we talk about this matchup later, I mean, but that's the thing. That's the difference. That's why you have to give. You like Mike Tomlin, and you like him in terms of how he coaches the team and whatnot. You got and the thing about it, you got all these players in Philly, and fans are like complaining. I mean, you're in a 9-game winning streak, and you still ain't satisfied. And but that's the team in southeastern Pennsylvania. The team in western Pennsylvania is well coached. I mean, you don't see any of those egos. You just everybody is going to contribute. And Tomlin and his coaching staff put guys in position to win. Okay? And not to say that Nick Sirianni and crew doesn't. I think, and like I said, Jalen Hurts made some plays in that game that helped them to win the game. But he missed a couple of open receivers, and the fans are complaining, oh, he can't do this in the playoffs. And I'm like, we got to watch the game in the sense that Carolina's been playing everybody tough in the last 3 weeks. But, you gotta watch the games and whatnot. You really, I mean, that's what's happening on the Philly side of things. In Pittsburgh, Pittsburgh is just, Mike Tomlin has that way of just getting guys to play together. And there's nobody complaining about their touches and all that. They win. Am I right? I mean, they win. Nobody's complaining at Pittsburgh. I don't get X amount of touches. I don't get these touches and whatnot. I just don't. It's interesting just to see this matchup coming next week. It's just interesting to me.
No, I don't know that those conversations are not happening, but what I can assure you is we won't hear about them. And that's the
Right,
difference in the culture, right?
right, right. That's exactly right. And that
And
it came out like that. I mean, that's something that A.J. Brown and Devontae Smith need to pull, Hurts aside, and the offensive coordinator, because the offensive coordinator has to kind of set that tone too.
Right.
But I'm just looking at Philly fans and the Philly media. It's like, really? Are y'all?
distraction.
And
Those are
I'm the
distractions.
outcast.
And
Yeah,
those are distractions, and that's on Coach Sirianni.
yeah,
It's just on him. It's on him, right? Like I think that, and we talked about this before, gentlemen. I'd say it's a new era of athlete. With all due respect, these young men, they got social media, they have podcasts. They express more about how they feel about things.
Mhm.
I do not necessarily think that that is a bad thing. And then it comes to a point though where the situation that the Eagles are in, it's a distraction. It's affecting team morale. That I understand, Chris, correct me if I'm wrong. AJ and Jalen, at least they were friends at one point, right?
Yeah.
So you have all that. and you have this bleeding into now the other players being asked these stupid questions, and we are a couple of days before a very important game between the Eagles and the Steelers. The
Yeah.
Steelers are going to land at Philly Airport, rets to go. They're going to be ready to play that game. And it's
They're not going
curious
to take the
when I
bus. It's a 4-hour drive, right, or a 6-hour drive.
that turnpike, you would risk that driving up the that
Right.
turnpike through those mountains?
Yeah, that's true. That is
Eh,
bad. That's a tough
Um,
eh,
thing to
for me,
well,
I was go ahead, Irene, go ahead.
well, no, no. Please finish out your point regarding the state championship.
Yes, because going back to the whatever is happening up there in Philly about the offense and missing passes that I think I recall, Philly is averaging a little over 5 yards per run, right? Um, Saquon Barkley, who I like to use that word sleeper, and it's a long, 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 long shot, but I'm looking at him as the MVP. I mean, I know Josh Allen is doing great things and all of that, and it's been a minute since we've seen a Josh Allen looking guy do all those things, but the work that Saquon is doing to me, I mean, it's historic. It's historic and it's legacy. But separate from that, there seems to be a question in and around whether Jalen is just not seeing those passes. Not
right.
that
Yeah.
he's not capable of making them, Chris and
Yeah.
Irene, but is he seeing them?
That's a
Well,
good question that he has to, in film study and all that, and or the offensive coordinator. I mean, one of the things that I saw is that I think that I don't know. I think that hurts some. I mean, I don't know if something isn't in Hurts's head and whatnot. I think Hurts right now is trying to stay. He's only had one turnover in the last 9 games, and then that's a part of the streak. And I sometimes wonder if he is somehow, because sometimes he gets balls out late. I
Mm,
sometimes wonder if he is a little bit gun shy. He doesn't want to make turnovers. He doesn't want, and I think, but the crazy part about Jalen Hurts, that guy's a winner. That guy, he may make a mistake in this game, and he'll figure out a way to win and whatnot. I mean, I've seen great quarterbacks throw multi picks in games, but you figure out a way to win the game. No one can say that about Jalen. I mean, Jalen Hurts knows how to win football games. He's 35-9 over the last couple of years. Okay.
okay.
God knows how to win it. Even last year, in the midst of going 10-1 and making those big plays. He was making big plays. Maybe he's not passing for 400 yards and 3 touchdowns like Joe Burrow. And guess what Joe Burrow's team is right now and
Yeah.
we
whatnot.
will get to that soon, and
Yeah,
I think that,
and I know, but that's the thing in
yeah.
this matchup that Pittsburgh has with the Eagles. I think that I do think this might be a game where there I think they can probably clamp down on the Eagles running game, and but the thing about it though, Hurts could kill you in the passing game. And I mean, right now the city of Philadelphia is in this big debate over Jalen Hurts. I mean, this is big debate because it's like the Philadelphia media here is saying. I mean, I have friends saying he can't pass his way during the playoffs. Lots of quarterbacks have clunker games or have games where they're not as sharp as they always do, but they figure out ways to win the game. And that's the most important thing. No, not but I've seen quarterbacks throw 3 or more interceptions in championship games and in the playoffs and still win the game.
Right
Because
on.
to me, the most important thing in the world is to win the game, in my opinion.
It's a curious thing. We may have to watch Jalen throw more because Pittsburgh is ranked fourth in terms of NFL team opponent rushing yards at 91 and a half. It'll be interesting to see if the Steelers are able to literally stop that run game, which I don't know how they do that against Saquon, but to see if they're able to put more pressure on that run game, and then let's see what Jalen does with his arm.
Mhm.
Indeed, I like that, and I think we are touching within every angle and fast as possible within this matchup, and I love it. Let's put a pin in it right quick and go back within some of the other teams within the AFC North. Not none of these are our favorite topics to dive into, but for the sake of the title of the show. On the other side of this game, the Cleveland Browns scored 14 points. They were scoreless in two periods. Sapphire, I know you said that you would let me speak, dive more into it. But before I do so, do you have any thoughts or anything you just want to speak on regarding anything from players to staff, organization, fan base? Like this is your, even if whether 10 words or 100, do your thing.
I mean, it's pathetic. It's pathetic. I'm not gonna. I'm gonna try to keep myself calm because you know how I feel. This whole season has been underwhelming, and the players I don't feel came into this season prepared to play professional football. You know how I feel about the coach. I really, with all due respect, the man is going to get his money. I just can you please put a orange bow on that Christmas present that you promised me, Irie? And I'm just going to say this. When I open the box up, Irie, I would like to see Bill Belichick as at least the general manager, possibly the GM and head coach. I would like to see Mike Vrabel still involved with the team in some aspect, because he's a Northern Ohio man, born and raised here, played here for the Ohio State Buckeyes. He gets the culture, the identity of the team. And real quick, going back to Bill Belichick, this is where he really started. And if it hadn't been for Chris, your Baltimore Ravens, the Browns may be sitting on a couple of NFL Super Bowl titles. So I'll just leave it at that. Just
Is
complete
that my
disgust with
fault?
the whole regime up there and wanting a change. Okay? Was I nice tonight?
Yeah. Was that
You
my
were
fault? Is it? I'm sorry. I didn't. I'm sorry that Governor Paris Glendening, sacrificed education in the state of Maryland to bring a football team there. In my
Yes,
opinion.
yes. Pretty ticked off about that, Chris.
Yeah. Yeah.
uh
You're right, and you should be ticked off.
Chris, before you speak on that, and actually, for those that are watching, wondering why does this guy have on a UNC beanie? Does he have is he an alum of UNC? Does he have any connection to the university? No, I don't. I don't have any connection to the university at all. I don't think I know anybody that went to the university. Maybe that can change for those watching. If you are an alum of the school and reach out, or if you know somebody that knows somebody that knows somebody that's an alum and reach out to the school. The reason why I wore this beanie, which I just happen to have for some reason, thanks to my cousin growing up, is because Bill Belichick, the man who Sapphire has wished through a genie's numerous times, see episode by episode, to hope that somehow, some way, he becomes the coach of the Cleveland Browns. News reports came out today that he is considering an offer from the University of North Carolina, Chapel Hill, the Tar Heels. As we know, Mac Brown had been coaching there since 2019. He was dismissed not long ago this season. Uh, Ironically, his interim coach for the rest of the season is Freddie Kitchens, but it seems like they don't want him to be the final coach. So they've looked into Bill Belichick, hopefully, to come and save the Tar Heels program. So that's why I've worn this for you, Sapphire.
And
Now,
that'll
Really
renew my
appreciate
hatred
that.
for North Carolina. I have too many scars from my ACC years in Maryland and Dean Smith and basketball and all that other stuff. And so I'll probably, if Bill Belichick goes there, I have another reason to hate Carolina all over again.
that's
That's one of the things I
beautiful.
grew up on, is hating Carolina.
Amen to that.
Tell me why, Irie. Tell me why the
Why Bill?
Browns would
Mhm.
not be reaching out to him. Please help me understand that.
That sadly Sapphire that is a bit above my pay grade. You know, all I can say right now is maybe they are considering the thought of, like, a former coach of the year, Mike Vrabel. or of course Jim Schwartz is right there. Dorsey, they're within those coordinator positions, but maybe they could be looking at Vrabel if possible as a possible option if that's the last resort. But it's hard to think that Stefanski at least loses his job. Not saying it's not possible. I'm not saying that, nor am I calling for that. I'm just saying he won coach
Yeah.
of the year. That's you win that. Your place is safe, whether the outside or factions of the outside feel that you deserve it or not.
Okay, I'm sorry. Did you say something about stat boosting?
So, yeah. Outside of that, regarding the Browns during the game, it just wasn't the best. Wasn't the best performance. They came out all right. I don't even want to say they did well or came out explosive because it really wasn't even that. Like it was within their second series in which Winston actually done really well within his tenure right now in Cleveland, able to operate real well outside of the pocket, the deep 35-yard connection to Jerry Judy. But after that though, things just didn't connect well, within cohesion. Like Winston had 2 touchdowns, 2 picks, but also I think the elephant in the room has to be said because there is a man by the name of Phil Dawson who was for a long time the best kicker, the most consistent kicker, probably the most consistent player for the Browns during the time between the 2000s to early 2010s. And he actually set the single season record for field goals made in a season in 2008 with 30. That record was broken last season by another man by the name of Dustin Hopkins with 33, and he signed that extension, got paid. Right now, at least after Sunday, things have gone the opposite way. He's 16 of 25 on the season. He has 9 misses. That leads the NFL. All kickers within missed field goals. Uh, things are just not looking good. And it's also just how pivotal his field goal misses were as well too. Like Cleveland had a productive, really good series towards the end of the first half when the score was still 7-13. He missed that 38-yarder. That would have cut it to 13-10. Then they opened the series. Jerome Ford with that 56-yard kickoff return to start the second half. Five more, four more plays later, they're there. They couldn't. Now, also, Ford's return positioned them 39 yards away from the end zone. They weren't able to travel much farther. That would have been nice. Penalty, a sack, or fumble, a board, whatever, so be it. Despite the fact that he had a 43-yarder now to take, he also misses that. We know if he had made both by that point, it would have tied the game. Maybe would have changed the outcome. Is this pretty much the telltale sign regarding Dustin Hopkins and his time in Cleveland?
I mean, I guess I just want to say the average age of an NFL kicker in 2024 is like 26.6 years, maybe 26.7. Dustin Hopkins turned 34 in October.
He did.
It's more than a notion. You got to think about the number of years of players in the league and the number of times specifically a kicker is kicking, right? Um, when he missed that short, what was it, 24, 28 yarder, I thought he would be cut the next day, kind of like Tony was. But
We
because
will
the
get to
Browns,
that. Yeah.
yeah, because the Browns are so terrible, stinking up the joint. Like they should erase that team name from the AFC North this year. That's how terrible a team they are.
Tell us
That's
how
how
you really
desperate
feel,
they are.
Sapphire.
Yes. Oh, trust and believe. I'm being a nice girl tonight. Trust and believe. You've got Jameis Winston out there telegraphing. Like I knew from where I was at what side of the field he was going to throw to. Okay.
It-
And they're
it-
doing the Mexican jumping bean 2-step, holding on the ball too long.
it's so crazy to think of it as a fight. It's so crazy touching that because those were
Uh,
two.
Go ahead. Bring me home. Bring me home, Ivory Chris.
Don't worry, we're gonna cut this soon within this subject matter. I see it. I know it. I know it's too much for you right now. We just have to deliver. Get the people what they want. But yes, that actually is what I want to touch on next. And thank you for bringing me to that topic sooner. Within my winners and losers column, I made deception a loser. Originally, it was predictability before changing it to deception, but it was exactly that. where, for one, you could just tell, like, you knew the plays before they even ran. And guess what? Certain Steeler players that made plays as well also knew to play. And I actually have a couple of sound bites as well too. We can die because you mentioned the
So that gives us
first.
the ability to get that package out there, and so we just got a bunch of dogs.
All right, 1 second, my apologies. You mentioned that first interception that was from Keanu Bennett. That was off that slip screen going right, in which Winston had held on to the ball a little bit longer than needed because the Steelers play came in the way, but also they just read the play quickly. And you know what else? He did it as well too. And here he is speaking about that.
He was like it did today.
So you have a resume of picks?
Yeah, I'm really ball. No, I have a resume of being ball aware and feeling when it's screen. So
Ever have an interception?
in high school, not in college or the league yet until today.
As a nose tackle?
There's no tackle.
Keanu, what is it with this defense making splash plays like that? You guys seem to do it every single week to kind of spark the offense.
Yeah, I feel like everybody had their turn, and you never know when it's gonna come. So we just make sure we stay high energy through the ups and downs, and
Here's my favorite part,
not get too low, and it allows for those plays.
Was the biggest thing pressure for Jameson today for you guys?
Yeah, definitely keeping him in the pocket. I feel like last game we let him out of the pocket a little too much for our liking, and today we had to keep him in.
What did you see on the play? Was that something you read or something you saw on film?
Usually the guys across from you are supposed to block you, and when it's screen, they don't. So you find the ball, or you find the running back, or whoever they're throwing it to, and they throw it up.
Yeah,
You just have to work.
He read that play to a T. And while staying within the subject matter, I also just wanted to touch briefly as well with that because he said that they allowed Winston to play and operate outside of the pocket a little more to their liking than he would have liked to. That was the one area as well that I really, really saw from the jump, because when they play the Browns in Week 12, they blitz. And keep in mind, the Steelers defense as a whole, I want to say they're top 15 within total blitz. Like they blitz, but not heavy blitz or heavy pressure compared to other teams in the league. But they still make their presence, their impact known. The last time they played the Browns in Week 12, Winston was only blitzed a total of 4 times. They increased that on Sunday to 11 times. And you can tell in which how, the amount of times that Winston had to hold on to the ball, in which not that he had to, but he was second guessing or delaying his pass because he didn't want to make a mistake. He could feel the presence of nothing but black and yellow around him. He doesn't want to give the ball to him, as he has a tendency to, which he did twice in that game, that being one of them. So that was very apparent, and it worked within the Steelers' favor. Now, here's the other soundbite real quickly. Elandon Roberts. When the Steelers went up 20-7, the Browns had to answer quickly. They tried to, at least within the second half. And then that would lead to them facing a 4th and 1. Very interesting choice. Now, Kevin Stefanski did say that it wasn't designed this way, but that's just kind of what happened. But what looked to be Jerome Ford getting the ball going left and outside, though. Not inside draw, but more so outside going left. There's supposed to be a couple of blocks. I believe it was Joe Batonio and David Njoku with the blocking, but somehow, some way, there was an open path right there for Pittsburgh's Elandon Roberts. But guess what? He says that he anticipated off of a play ran the year prior, along with, where Michael Woods was lined up at. Here it is right here.
Walk us through that 4th down stop when you saw that get in the backfield so quick.
Yeah, it was kind of crazy because I remember playing in Cleveland last year. Ford came in the game, they kind of did something like that, so I knew it was going to be on the perimeter. Me and Six really didn't know what way it was going to go, but 81, a dirty work guy, so I kind of peeked out there. I seen 81 on my side, so I kind of anticipated it coming my way and stuff like that. Being able to make a play for the team, that was always about for me.
What was the adjustment you guys?
Both. That's two of it. That's two of their 4 turnovers, and that real communication from 2 players that made the play and was the same. Yeah, we knew that was going to happen. We read it like the back of our hand.
Offense up in Cleveland. Like,
I'll carry this for you. Well, actually, Chris, thoughts before going forward within Cleveland's performance. Thoughts within everything that you saw from the Browns out there.
Awesome. What I saw from the Browns, I mean, their record is what their record is, right? You are who who you say you are, right? And so I think that right now everybody's playing for jobs. Going to play for jobs, and you'll come back next season. You may be not. You may be there, or not there. I wish Jameis Winston the best of luck. One of the things he has to work on is finding the guys who are wearing the same jersey as he is and whatnot. That's what he has to do. And I think, you're gonna play spoil. You gotta play Baltimore again. It'd be nice to spoil, their season. And so, I just think that, all due respect to your Brown Sapphire, it's play it out, play your best, try some
They're
guys.
done.
Huh?
They're done. I'm telling you right now,
Yeah, they're done.
Baltimore, I can't even get it out. The Browns
Well,
going to
well,
Baltimore is going to be
the
terrible.
the
Like, I
the
see
only
players shutting down. I absolutely see players shutting down. Right?
and
You got
it's
God bless Miles Garrett up there behind the mic talking trash after his team got their butts whooped. We're going to remember this next year. In the heck? And Browns Nation is thinking about next year. We haven't even suffered through this season. It's just, you got to have a new leader in Berea, Ohio. You got to have a new leader. You cannot finish this season and have Browns Nation accept how crappy these players are performing and come in with the same thing next season. You can't do it. They might as well go
Especially
ahead and
after
find
all
another
the
city to move the
expectations
team to.
this
I'm
year.
telling you right now. I'm telling
Right.
you.
Yeah, after all that expectation this year, that's what makes this season disappointing. Browns came in here,
100%.
a contender for the division. They came in here a contender. You saw the playoff, the loss. You saw they came close to beating Houston and whatnot in the playoffs last year. That wet everybody's beaks, and they're thinking that this division was going to be a hard division to win among those four teams. And sadly enough, the state of Ohio has certainly underachieved in the NFL this year, and in college
Everything.
football too. But I ain't getting into that. But but the thing about it, the insanity of it, is that you have to, I guess you gotta look to next year, but still play your best. Give the fans play your best. You know, these are the times that really test your fortitude as a team, not during the course of good times, but during the course of tough times.
Right.
Still set that tone and still win. Try to do something right, because sometimes that can build a foundation for next year. That can
Exactly.
snowball and create a momentum for next year. And at the end of the day, that's what you want to do. I mean, that's how you kind of build a winning culture and whatnot. And you build that winning culture, and you got to really give it that shot.
You do.
And and it's just one of those things where you just have to, you gotta play for something if
You
you're not
do.
going anywhere. You
You
gotta
do.
play for something. You gotta play for the paycheck. You gotta play for the pride, because as a man, we don't, as men, we don't accept losing to easily,
That's right.
as men go, we don't accept it. And so, you got to get out there and just play hard.
You do.
Because that's all they got left.
That's
That's
right.
the only game the man left them to play. To quote
Real,
Priest and Superfly. You
thank you,
know,
Chris. That was beautiful. Real quick, because we see Sapphire crumbling just like the Browns did in the second half and stuff. Before we move on to the Bengals winning, let me just touch on two things real quick, briefly, before we move on. Number one, to continue earlier, like I was saying, yes, Bennett has said they allowed Winston to play and operate a little more out of the pocket than to their liking in Week 12. They only blitzed him a total of 4 times. That would increase to a total of 11 times on Sunday, and there was really an impact in that because, like we've said, he really held on to the ball a number of times, and it would lead to those turnovers. Him second guessing the lane in which he wants to not give the ball to anybody in black and yellow because he has that tendency to, which we know that's Jameis Ball. Furthermore, They also made a note within his big passing yards. You look at the last 4 games. You look at they played Pittsburgh twice. You look at the other 2 times in which they played the Saints and the Broncos. Winston had 892 passing yards combined versus those 2 teams. Versus the Steelers, 431 when you count Sunday. They did their job within limiting them and making them uncomfortable. Job well dealt within that. And the last thing to dive into, of course, and it would be we're unprofessional of us not to. The Browns waived Kadarius Toney, somebody who has had his own things going on within his young career off the field, from the Giants to the Chiefs and now to the Browns. He was picked up after Cleveland lost to Dallas. He was on practice squad for most of the season, but it had been used in the last 3 of the last 4 games. So we're not going well, and it came to a cease this past Sunday because, as we saw, he muffed that punt, which was then recovered by Pittsburgh's Ben Skowronek, and Cleveland went on get the ball again. And they were hoping to get the ball again and maybe cut the game to a one possession game, but that would not happen. Now, here's the quick soundbite I want to play from Ben, who said that the punt before, when the penalty was given to Toney regarding taunting, he was confused by that because he says he complimented Toney and thought he was a heck of a player, a heck of a returner. So the very next punt that happens with the muff. Here's his voice before we go into Cincinnati.
My voice. Real quick, just before you go, I just wanted to ask one question. I know that Tony got the penalty and stuff.
Yeah.
Garrett John back for. Could you even dive into? Did you even hear what was even said during that?
It was weird because I actually gave him a compliment. I think he's a hell of a player, hell of a returner. So I was like, hey man, why'd you fair catch? And then he turned around and I didn't even know he threw the ball at me until it hit me. But I guess it's a heat of the moment. Maybe he was just tossing it. I don't know, but we got a free 15 out of it, so I can't complain. But he's a hell of a talent, and I think he put that on display today. But he's put that on display his whole career.
Thank you, man. Good luck the rest of the way.
So Cincinnati played football. Monday nights, they traveled down to Jerry World. They played the Dallas Cowboys, and guess what? They won. They won. We're talking about another team that won. Paul Brown's other offspring won a football game, Sapphire. Shouldn't that bring you some kind of joy? 10% maybe? There's a smile. Now we got some
Santa's elves. We are Santa's elves. Da, 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 da. We are Santa's elves.
Right?
Like
I'm just trying to give some joy. I'm trying to give some joy.
Exactly.
Somebody there's Scrooge up in here where I'm at. Okay, there's Scrooge up in here.
Somebody made Paul Brown happy.
Da, 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 da. I am old Chris Kringle. I'm named after Chris Kringle. No,
your child won. Well, one of them, not the bastard child, but the other one won. Congratulations, Paul.
My gosh. Oh my gosh.
Hey, I have my Paul Brown. I have my official Paul Brown hat too. See, I'm up on everything.
That's funny, guys. It was really curious because if all signs were pointing to here comes another Bengals less than 6-point game loss at the end of the game. Another game where they couldn't figure out how to win. I didn't really take it at more than that because they played the Dallas Cowboys, who I think were either one game, had one more loss than they did. I can't even remember. So I looked at this game probably the way that a lot of Bengals fans looked at it, kind of like a practice game, but one that you knew that you had to win. And I think that was the mindset that the Bengals went into this game with because they are still mathematically alive, right? Unlike the Browns. I thought for the first time though, as well, I saw Joe Burrow make a couple of passes that he had a couple of passes where he overthrew the ball, right?
Oh yeah.
So I was wondering what was going on in his head with that. I don't know. I think he still could be. There may be some essence of that injury to the hand or the wrist, but I was very impressed that the Bengals, even though they needed that extra help, that fluke, blocked kick that turned out to still come back to them, they found a way just to break through it and capitalize and win that game. I think that was huge for the Bengals organization.
Well, as I always tell you, right? Remember we said, forget the playoffs, win playoffs. I'm talking about playoffs. We try. They're happy to win a game, any game at this point. Another game. They are at this point happy to win a game. Okay, just win. I don't know where it's going to lead. They don't know where it's going to lead, but sometimes you start somewhere. That's what you got to do. You just get
Zach
win.
Taylor's expression said it all, right? Like his expression on that sideline when they recovered that blocked kick was priceless.
That
Like
was
it's priceless. Um, I don't know. Tell me, Irie, what you think in terms of when you think about the Bengals, the rest of their games, right? If they have the real remotest of possibilities to secure a playoff spot, what your thoughts are on that.
Thank you for opening up this discussion. That's a good question. I will start off by saying this. Mathematically, it is possible. They are 5-8, so they're not numbers wise eliminated from playoff contention. But furthermore, I see a way in which just off this win alone, and then finally being able to figure it out, even if they got a little help from the other side, a down to the wire game, will propel further confidence and instill that we were hoping would come through earlier in the season. If episode by episode, I kept on mentioning about a number of their losses were one possession games, which kept on implying that they were failing at excelling at the little things because they would come so close. You got Burrow and Chase leading the league in their respective, multiple statistical categories within their respective positions. Finally came together, it gelled together versus Dallas, and I see a way in which they could probably win. I say 3 of their next 4. You got Tennessee coming up. You got Cleveland afterwards, and you got Denver and Pittsburgh to close up the season. I'm not gonna. I'm not. I'm not gonna go touch that with regarding them beating Pittsburgh just because Pittsburgh is just so hot right now and so focused. But I see a way in which they can get their record to 8-8 before that final game.
Okay.
Thoughts on that?
Okay. That's really interesting. So then, not to get too far ahead here, but when you do look at the rest of the Bengals season, I mean, you see them going what?
I would
3
say
and
8,
go ahead.
3-1 to finish out to close out.
It's so fascinating. So what's the loss in their last 4 games that you see?
Versus Pittsburgh.
Okay.
That's not the last game of the season, is it?
It is.
Yeah.
Well, they might pull. I'm gonna tell you, the Bengals might pull that because Pittsburgh may not play their starters.
And that's what I thought about it as well too.
Right.
But just the way that Pittsburgh has been rolling right now, I'm just thinking there's no way in which they will want to ruin their AFC North foe and keep them from the playoffs. This is Pittsburgh we're talking about, so I'm not gonna eliminate that possibility. So that's why I keep it at 3 wins right now. Can Cincinnati close out undefeated? Yes, but I'm also giving a Pittsburgh the benefit of the doubt to which whoever plays it in that last game. Also, keep in mind too, we're talking about them sending out their starters. It could come down. They might want a potential seed possibly too, maybe into which they might consider playing their starters, depending on what happens in the next couple of weeks as well. So we'll see. But what do you guys feel regarding how they can finish out the season?
Well, my thing is my thing is that they can they're capable of winning all their games down the stretch. Cincinnati, they got the offense. Jamar Chase and Joe Burrow, one heck of as long as you got those guys, you're gonna put points on the scoreboard. But they really have to work on their defense. Their defense is terrible. And that's what that comes down to.
That's what that comes down to. That's the question. Their defense. You guys know how I feel. Your team is scoring at least 27 points. I don't understand how you don't win all those games, right?
Right.
But the defense, that's the thing. And I don't know why. I have no basis for saying this. That Tennessee game is away. It's nagging at me. It's nagging at me. So I'm going to ride with you and say definitely they could finish 3-1, but just put an asterisk next to that game.
Hmm.
All right. Okay. Well, I think with that being said, maybe we dive into predictions, people.
Right
Okay.
on, right on.
All right. So you know what? We'll go the other way, kind of like Snake went right now. Cincinnati. They travel to Tennessee. I'm gonna give them the win.
Cincy.
Sapphire.
I'm just going to be consistent. I'm going to say Titans.
All right. Titans. I like that. Let's see if Lightning can strike once again. But then the other side for Chandler here, the Browns. They will be hosting the Kansas City Chiefs, the defending Super Bowl champions, winning back-to-back, 1-3 in the last 5 seasons. I think we're all gonna go with you know who. Okay, I'll just move on from there with that. And thank you, Chris, as well with that. That is exactly how I think we all feel regarding the Browns at the moment. So we'll keep it at that. And then there's the Steelers. And then the Steelers will play on the road in Philadelphia for the state championship, as we like to call it, regarding the state of Pennsylvania. Who do we think comes out victorious in this game?
I think the Eagles win this game because Jalen Hurts throws for over 250 to 300 yards, shuts up Philadelphia fans, and about what he can do downfield. And I think he's going to find some matchups because I think he's got to get the ball into A.J. Brown and Devontae Smith's hands, but still keep the ball in Saquon's hands. I say the Eagles upset the Steelers this weekend.
This is really hard for me. This is really, 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 really hard for me. First of all, you know how I feel about my Eagles, Chris. But at the same time, and that defense is for real. And then in last week's game, the Steelers rolled out that 12 personnel, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like, it just gives Russell Wilson so many different options, as well as the 4-1, right? The Steelers gave me a glimpse at, like you said, they're evolving their offense. They're taking their offense up to another level. I'm actually going to go against my gut because of that, and I'm going to go with the Steelers.
Guess what? I as well am going with the Steelers, so we'll both be doing it together. Job well done on that. And lastly, Baltimore Ravens, a team we did not touch on too much because they were offering now during their bye week, but they will come back and they will be playing on the road, traveling to MetLife Stadium, East Rutherford, New Jersey, to be exact. They'll be playing the New York Giants, and they will, in my eyes, defeat the Giants, who have more than enough work going on their side in Northern Jersey. So I'm going to go right now with the Ravens winning this. I assume you two are on the same boat.
It could be a scrimmage. Like, I can see the Ravens putting their starters out by halftime.
Yeah, and sometimes to get your mojo back and your groove back, you gotta unleash points on the other team. Now, that said, this is still the National Football League, and people will still. I just hope the Ravens will. I hope they self-scout it. I hope they will come up with ways to adjust to other things. Get Lamar Jackson back into the groove. Start completing drives again. That's what they have to finish drives. They didn't against Pittsburgh and Philadelphia in those games that they lost, and they've got to finish. They got to finish and whatnot, but they got to show that sharpness. They got to run Derrick Henry. Don't give up on the running game. Don't give up. But my thing is include Isaiah Likely, and I don't know what's happening with. Well, I do know what happened with Deontay Johnson. the Ravens have said they're going to welcome him back, but he refused to go into a game. I don't know what that guy's problem is. I have no idea. Maybe he felt that he was being disrespected instead of working within the context of the offense. And, they would like to have him as another weapon. But that is an interesting story down there. But at the same time, Lamar, admonished himself the previous week about not taking those openings, not making plays. He was saying, and I think you may see I'm hoping to see a different Lamar Jackson who's going to take chances and who's going to just put this team on his back, because I think the team has been clamoring for him to do that. And I think that if they want to make this Super Bowl run, it'll start that Sunday, and they've got to set a tone. They've got to, come into that game and don't let the Giants think they can be in the game. They'll get them, blow them out.
All right, there we have it. Thank you for taking us out with lovely music and soundbite. Sapphire and Chris, thank you all again for joining us tonight for this, 12th episode of Fear the North. And, we're here every week, every Tuesday, 8:30 p.m. Eastern Time. As you can see at the bottom right there, you can follow us on socials at Fear the North 4 on X and also on Blue Sky. On Blue Sky, you don't have to add the little, bsky.social, but you can see it there in the socials. Please take if you like, take a screenshot of it. You can follow us on there. Each week we're on, you can repost. Please like, share, subscribe, all the above. And we're here to give you our best every week. And the more subscribers we get, the bigger fan base we get, you too can get one of these lovely mugs. Fear the North podcast right there. Shout out Sapphire for making that happen. Not really able to see mine, but you can see there, so that's all that matters. Lovely to drink out of, nice and warm, sweet. Definitely right now for the comfy season ahead. So, thank you all again for joining us, and we'll see you all next Tuesday. Ciao.
All right. Ciao. Hey, I love you guys. Okay.
Love you.
Right on, people.